What's up, everybody? Welcome to GoJo with Mike Golic Jr. That is me. With me, as always, super producer Brandon Newman, my father, Mike Golic Sr. Dad, how are we doing this morning?
I'm doing well. The only thing I can say about that game last night is if you were watching it, it was one of those things where at the end, Denver was crushing Miami so badly that at the end, did you see where it got to and you were waiting for the throwaway three by Miami? The money line was 8.5. They won by 11. They didn't try a three at the end, but I was just thinking at the end as I'm watching it, because we did our parlay, which we'll get into. But we've seen those, the bad beats, where they're blowing them out the whole game. If they would have hit just some trashy throwaway three at the end, that would have changed it for so many people. It would have been the one by 8 instead of, and the line was 8.5. But that didn't happen. That was the only interesting thing to me at the end of the game, because Denver just so dominated game one. The first time the Miami Heat have lost game one in this postseason. They won every game one, the three previous, all on the road, by the way. But Denver's undefeated at home this postseason, and they established themselves right out of the gate.
Yeah, there's no question. Denver came out and looked the part, as we all expected. In the rest versus rust debate, rest won by a country mile. So we've got plenty to get into with that today. Got a great show, as always. Download, subscribe, rate, review. Leave us a 5-star rating. Check us out on YouTube and the DraftKingsNetwork.com. We have got finals reaction. We have got SEC scheduling drama. And we've got two of our friends, Miki Sudo and Nick Wehry, the first family of competitive eating, two of the best major league eaters on the planet, who are here to help us celebrate National Donut Day that has come up here today, Dad. They are down in San Diego at the National Donut Eating Contest that's there to benefit the Salvation Army. You'll hear a lot about that in our interview with them, but we figured a celebration of food around here, we should bring in a couple of experts to help us out.
Yeah, without a doubt. And we also brought in donuts today as well, which we should have. There's no doubt we are a donut family. This is a big day. I heard it's also National Cheese Day. Now, while I like cheese, it doesn't compare to the donut side of this. And I look forward to talking to the two of them. I am so jealous of you when at your time at ESPN, you got to cover a couple of the Nathan's hot dog eating contests. I've always wanted to do that. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. But I always loved watching that, and then you got to call that a couple of times. Very, very cool. I'm just into that. I got to eat against Eater Rex and Joey Chestnut one time. You were right there, obviously, calling all the action with them at the Nathan's event. So I just love that stuff. I think it's really cool. I know some people don't dig it as much, but I love talking to them. Some of them have such great personalities as I'm going to eat my donut.
If it's not for certain people, screw them. It's for us, and it's our show, so you're going to enjoy talking to them. Mickey and Nick are great. In the vein of serious days and things, also do want to wish everyone, we missed it at the start of yesterday, a very happy Pride Month to all our LBGTQ plus listeners and friends out there. We love you. Enjoy this month. Celebrate this month. Obviously, trying for everyone else, create spaces where everybody can feel welcome. Feels like the bare minimum that we can all do as we try and support our friends in that community. And today in Major League Baseball is also Lou Gehrig Day. It's ALS Awareness Day also, which is another big one, another thing that you can continue to throw your dollars behind the research to try and help so many people fight this neurological disorder that is an absolute scourge. So obviously a lot of fun we're going to have today, but also do want to acknowledge the serious things going on today as well. But Dad, also want to acknowledge the basketball that went on last night. You mentioned it. Denver came out and won the opening stanza. What stuck out to you most about what they were able to do in game one of this series?
Basically, Miami had no answer defensively, of the different things that they tried. The length, was just ridiculous. The advantage that Denver had. You're talking, what was it, Porter at 6'10", Gordon at 6'9", or vice versa, Joker at 7 foot or 6'11". Miami can't match that up. And Aaron Gordon, in the beginning, the matchups were ridiculous for him. He got so many easy points in the paint where he just battered his way down there. And that's what Miami's going to have to adjust to. they seemed to do a little better of a job in the second half. Now, how much was that? Did Denver take their foot off the gas? They were destroying Miami by as much as 24 points, though Miami did get it down on an 11-0 run in the beginning of the fourth quarter to 10 and then to 9 with a couple of minutes to go. I don't know about you, but I never felt like Denver was in jeopardy of losing this game. Joker, the other thing that stands out to me, and listen, Joker at this point shouldn't stand out to anybody. Another triple-double, his 9th of the postseason. But he's just so nonchalant about it. He does not care about scoring. He does not care one bit about scoring. He took, 5 shots in the first 3 quarters and then 7 in the fourth quarter. He has no problem just saying, okay, this is what the defense is doing. I'm going to dish it and let my teammates take care of it. And guys like Garen Gordon early and then Jamal Murray through the game did. So I guess what stood out to me the most is we kind of saw exactly what we thought we were going to see, is Denver's length take control in this. And for Miami, when did Miami, we saw how they can win hitting threes. They weren't hitting anything. They were as cold as can be, especially, the Caleb Martins and Robinsons of who you rely on as your kind of role-playing shooters out there. Gabe Vincent was able to hit some shots for him, but their shots weren't falling. And I think the biggest thing that stood out, Mike, was they got 2 free throws. They set a record. They had 2 free throw attempts, and they made 2 free throws. That's it. Jimmy Butler had 8 drives in the game, his lowest in the postseason. He said, we've got to attack the basket more, and it starts with him. So I would look for that as a major, major difference in Game 2, is seeing Miami a lot more aggressive by the basket. It may lead to more blocks against them, but it may lead to more opportunities on the free throw line and possibly putting 1 or 2 players from Denver in some foul trouble.
Yeah, I feel like that's got to be the thing, right? We saw in the game where the Lakers probably had it the closest in the last series was, at least for a while, because you had Jokic in foul trouble, but it really is the length, man. We talked about it being a bigger, faster, stronger series for Denver. We're going to talk about Miami needing to drive more, but on a lot of those early drives, you saw shots affected by length, shots blocked near the rim. Yep. And, Dad, you know this. Early on in the game, we always said, talking about third downs and someone's best blitz, if you stop it early, you're not going to get it anymore because people are human. And when a bad thing happens to one of your best shots, you're going to automatically start to go to your off-speed pitch a little bit. And it got Miami to settle for a bunch of jump shots. And we can talk about the Heat shooting cold. This was really a Max Strus couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. 0 for 9 from 3, and Dad had open looks. Like, that's the thing that makes me feel a little bit better for Miami, is there were open looks they just weren't knocking down. And we saw in the last series they can definitely make them, but it did definitely have me a little bit worried coming off this game last night, because the Nikola Jokic supercomputer just digested information and continued to spit out results.
Yeah, 17-point lead at halftime in this one. And you said it. And so I guess that's what we wait to see. Can Miami hit those shots? We always talk about role players usually play better at home, but Miami's done it on the road. As I mentioned, they've won Game 1 of all 3 other series on the road. Their role players were hitting shots. And in this one, they just weren't. You mentioned Strus, but the guy that cost me our parlay, Caleb Martin, was 1 of 7 from the field. So the 2 of them were 1 for 17. Guys that you count on for shots. Guys that just hang out on the wing, get the ball kicked to them, and for the most part had good looks. And not just missing, they were bad misses as well. So was it an off shooting night? Was the altitude a factor? Because altitude, we've all played out there at one point or another in our respective sports, them basketball and us football. You do feel it. Again, ours is an outdoor game, but still, altitude is altitude, and you do feel it. Inside, outside, without question, you feel it. We felt it when we were out in Colorado Springs for that Notre Dame event, just kind of walking around. So I would imagine they would be a little more adjusted to it in Game 2, but it certainly can have a bit of an effect. But the bottom line is the length got them. And to your point, all of a sudden when they're playing off a little bit, but they still affect the shot, that's got to get to you mentally. So now if you're Miami, you don't take that shot right away because you think, they're not that close, but they're close enough to affect my shot. So you kick it off to somebody else, and it can affect you mentally. So
and that kick it off to somebody else generally tended to be Bam Adebayo. Like, this was a sensational game for Bam as a scorer, as people constantly chirp him about being more aggressive. 26 points in 40 minutes, and really was dialed in, was their only source of offense. But Dan, it almost seemed like they were trying to funnel it into him. They gave him a ton of space on the inside. He went and operated with it, and it was almost like, hey, we're going to try and get them off the three-point line and get that ball into Bam and say, yeah, we'll give you that one. If someone's going to go off and have a game, we'll let it be him. And then on the other side, you really saw, I thought, Jamal Murray, as Jokic was getting fronted, they were trying to be physical with him. Jamal Murray showed yet again why he's one of the guys that's been super integral to this run now that he's been healthy on the court. So, Dad, overall, was there anything you saw in this game that gave you hope for Miami? Do you think they can actually make this a series, or was this a shot across the bow that makes you nervous we're in sweep territory?
Well, I think they can make it a series because I can see, well, everybody can see the changes that are going to happen. The two major ones are, A, you got to get your shots to fall, right? You can't have two of your collective, starting shooters be 1 of 17. I mean, you're not going to win that way. I mean, you're just not. Jimmy Butler and the rest of the team have to get more aggressive to the hoop. As I mentioned, they shot 2 free throws. It tied a mark for the fewest free throws made, and it broke the mark for the attempt of free throws made. So they have got to get more aggressive to the rim.
We'll discuss what other adjustment Miami could potentially make heading to Game 2 next. Dad, as I was thinking about the conversation about adjustments, it led me to what I think is the most telling stat about where we're at with this finals overall. Because Brandon and I went on the Brother from Another podcast live watch party last night during the game. Michael Holly and Michael Smith, friends of the show, great guys, and we're hanging out with them in the fourth quarter, and one of the stats that Michael Smith brought up, to me, symbolizes everything we're trying to talk about, because everyone's going to wonder, well, in this next game, you got beat up not having enough size on the court for guys like Aaron Gordon to have to contend with. Does that mean Kevin Love starts getting some more minutes opposite Bam Adebayo? Do you try and get some more size out there with a guy in Kevin Love who can also offer you some shooting? As if that's some sort of tectonic plate that's shifting. And this is the stat that embodies what we're all fighting with here. This is the first NBA Finals matchup since 1990 without a first-team All-NBA player on the court. Jokic and Jimmy Butler, both second-team guys. Dad, this is what I think should be dubbed the culture finals, because for both sides, we've heard heat culture barfed all over us. I think Denver is built of very much the same stuff. This is a series that at its core is about what your star player can create as an environment for the pieces around him. And that's why when we're looking out at the long-term forecast of the series, you look at what Nikola Jokic was able to do on what was an offensive night for him because of the way the Miami Heat were playing him. He still affected the outcome of the game every which way, versus Jimmy Butler on the other side, who scored 13 points, and really going back to the end of the last series with Boston, has looked like he's run out of gas a bit from the incredible pace that he started the series at. So, Dad, how worried are you about Jimmy Butler potentially just not having any more gas in the tank at this point?
Oh, I mean, it'd be tough. Remember, he had the ankle injury as well. Is that still, it's not like while you continue to play, and they played a 7-game series in Boston, you have time to rest it. So you got to just play through that. That can certainly have an effect as well. Yeah, I mean, a lot is on his shoulders. Bam picked it up last night, but they need multiple players to play well to beat this Denver Nugget team. And last night it was Bam, and that was really it. So, yeah, it is going to fall on Jimmy Butler. At the end of the day, you have to rely on your star. Luckily for Denver, to rely on your star, it's not about scoring, because he can just dish the ball off to anybody and grab rebounds as well. With Butler, it's going to be, he's going to have to be that aggressive one that takes it to the hoop. Again, he only had 8 drives to the hoop. That's the lowest this postseason. And he even said, I have to start it and be the more aggressive one. So I see that as being a big difference. It's Kevin Love, who didn't play at all. At 6'8", is he going to get some time to battle Denver's length? We know the shooter that he is, where there's some shortcomings, obviously, but do you want that length out on the court? So will we see more of him? And are you getting Tyler Hero back at all? And if you do, what can you realistically count on from him if he does come back? But, at this point, Miami, as we've said, has won each game one. Now they haven't, so they're behind the 8 ball, but still, it's normally what happens in a 7-game series, 2-2, 1-1-1, home team winning their games. Let's see if Miami can steal the second one. You need someone to come up and just have that game, and you didn't have it. Outside of Bam, who was there on the boards and scoring, you just didn't have it last night, and you fell too far behind.
Yeah, and I think you hinted at it here. You've just got the perfect weapon in Nikola Jokic you're going up against on the other side. So we will get to our second attempt at the GoJo Show's Same Game Parlay. Dad, your Gabe Vincent bet, your Caleb Martin bet from the other night undermined our efforts, but we will build that out before the end of the show. We will try and get everyone right for game 2 and make some predictions there. Dad, the other most interesting part of the game last night had nothing to do with the game. How about Adam Silver doing his best sports talk radio show impression, teasing the Ja Morant suspension in an interview before the NBA Finals, saying, quote, "We've uncovered a fair amount of additional information. We probably could have brought it to a head now, but we've made the decision that it would be unfair to these players and teams to announce the decision in the middle of the series. So instead, he's going to announce it cryptically before the series in a way that's going to make us all ooh and ah and wonder and spin our tires on this thing for the next week."
That's what we call a great radio tease, right? If he was when there was 10 seconds or 15 seconds left in a hard out segment and he gave you that line and then went to break, we'd all be going, "Oh my God, what a great tease." Why would he do it? I mean, listen, it's great for us and talk shows and people to talk about how many games. Is it going to be a whole season, a half a season? What are we thinking? Everybody's going to try and find out or dive into it. But he said it in a way to not put a headline to it and let the NBA Finals be a headline. But the way he did it in a tease fashion, he made it a headline against the NBA Finals. I have no idea why he did it then.
Do you think he should have just announced the suspension?
He should have just said nothing. That they should have said nothing about this. Say this will be dealt with after the finals are over. Not we uncovered more information. Not anything like that. I wouldn't have said a word. But again, a lot of times, as we know, the commissioner is interviewed before the championship games or whatever. And if he was ever in that position and somebody asked him, we'll deal with it after the finals. End of story. That one line. That's it. There's no need to embellish at all on that or talk more about it or get cryptic like he did. As I said, we enjoy that because we can speculate on what it's going to be. But from the NBA side of it, I can't believe he did it. It's one simple line. We'll deal with it all after the NBA Finals. Nothing more, nothing less.
This is the equivalent of getting a text from one of your parents, and in my case, it would be my mom, that just says, "Call me." Because if it were normal, you would have just called me. But when the news is bad, it's call me when you get a minute, which to me indicates all of the tone and tenor around this is about to be bad. Like, I will not be surprised if Ja Morant is suspended for the entire upcoming season based on how, and especially additional information they've uncovered, because they already had a fair amount to work with in the Lifetime Achievement Award of this. The additional indicates to me this is probably going to be a guy that's going to get sat down for a year.
I agree. I think that possibly is going to be a year, maybe a little less. We'll see. We'll see what the union does once the suspension is handed out. But we're doing what every talk show is going to do. We're going to talk about it, and it's something Adam Silver didn't want, or maybe he did. I don't know. I don't know what his thought process was. But if you didn't want this to be a headline at all, then you shouldn't have mentioned it the way you did. So that leads, and Adam Silver is not a dumb guy. So that leads me to believe he kind of wanted to throw that little grenade out there to say what's coming.
Trial ballooning the suspension for Ja Morant that will now be coming when we come back from this commercial break. Very excited to welcome in Nick Wehry, Miki Sudo, the first family of competitive eating and Major League Eating. It's my first time seeing you guys in a while. I got to cover you both in the Nathan's Famous Hot Dog Eating Contest for those couple of years. Nikki, the year you were pregnant, I actually got to work with you. So first off, how you guys doing? It's good to see you again.
Oh, that's still, like, it goes down as one of my favorite memories of all of my Nathan's experiences. Getting to serve as commentator along you. But how have I been? Lots has been going on. Yeah, awesome.
Got first couple professional W's this year. I won Wonderful Pistachios out in Santa Monica. Then I won the wing eating contest in Miami.
Yeah, Nick's off to a good start.
So yeah, pretty good start to the year. You know, in Nathan's prep, got a donut contest coming up, and Miki, of course, has been putting me in the rearview mirror for a bunch of contests so far this year. So all pretty solid.
Well, I saw that you guys were just in the Jack's Donut Hole eating contest a bit ago, and I saw Miki got you by a few donut holes in that one. But I had to ask, I saw that, Nick, about the pistachios. What was it, 188 or something? What do you at? Do you have to crack them too? I mean, how do you have to go about eating them?
Oh yeah, the crack and everything. So 188 in 8 minutes, and I think actually the lack of feeling in my hands and the hand bodybuilding is actually what helped me win that contest. So yeah, crack and eat 188, and it was awesome because Joey had commercials leading up to, and he was really the head guy, and he was taking pictures with the belt ahead of the contest. So that was just delicious to take that title, you know, from him on that day.
Nick's really demanding that people call him Mr. Wonderful Pistachio for the next.
He's like 270 more days of that.
Yeah. There we go. And you know what? We are happy to lay that title. Mr. Wonderful Pistachio himself, gracing us with his presence, the 4th-ranked major league eater in the world. Miki, obviously, number 1 ranked female competitive eater, the holder of the mustard belt, a dominant force as we get about a month out from hot dogs here. But guys, we're in donut form right now. You guys are in San Diego getting ready to embark on an incredible journey. Friday, which is the day this is going to be released, is National Donut Day. And you guys are at the National Donut Day Donut Eating Championships hosted by the Salvation Army. First off, it's awesome because this is also for a good cause, fundraising going towards much needed veteran services in the greater Los Angeles area. So obviously very cool that you guys are a part of something like that. But the 5th annual here, it's going to be on the USS Midway if people want to go by down in the harbor in San Diego. But Dad mentioned it. You guys are coming off donut holes and shifting to whole donuts here. So is there a preference? How do we feel about this?
Oh, this one's a little bit different because it is a dunking contest. The weather's going to be a little more mild. What are you thinking?
I'm excited because it's going to be cold, and she's probably going to be super uncomfortable, which gives me a slight advantage.
It requires a lot more force and a lot less grace. Yeah. So it might be, more leaning towards Nick.
Less rhythm, more violence. That's my style.
So explain that when you say it's a dunking contest. Explain what this contest is.
So we'll be eating Bake Mark donuts. They're regular glazed donuts, but they've got some substance to them. They're heavy. They're dense. So yeah, they don't just disappear in your mouth like some other brands might.
Yeah, so we actually will have cups next to us. Some contests we're allowed to dunk the food. Some contests we are not allowed to dunk the food. We have to kind of eat it as is. So by dunking the donut, the hope is it absorbs a bunch of the fluid and the donut becomes a drink. And you can basically just slam it down. But these are pretty serious donuts. You know, a donut that you guys could relate to is like the Donut Crazy Donut is no ordinary donut. These are serious donies that we're handling here. So like they got some weight to them. So the record's 55 in 8 minutes. It's a pretty good amount of yeast we're going to be trying to put away.
I guarantee that number is going to be crushed because you have me and Nick competing against each other, both out for blood. It's a very competitive household. Because up till now it's just been me versus. Tomorrow you've got us and James Webb, Australia's number 1. So you've got 3 people really, really vying for that first place. So I think that number is going to be crushed. And hopefully we crush the number for the amount that we raised for veterans. Last year was $20K, and hopefully that number is going down too.
It's incredible, and everyone can obviously donate. It's on the Salvation Army's website, and as this event is going up here, I know you guys are going to try and stream it tomorrow. I believe the Salvation Army of San Diego is going to try and stream this event as well if people want to see that. But for both of you guys, you mentioned that fire. It almost reminds me of Formula One, where you've got drivers on teams, but within those teams, they're incredibly competitive. Have you noticed, has that made you both better individually now being in a household where this is the family business?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, because there's obviously, I get to learn things from someone who's she'd be on Mount Rushmore, of competitive eating. So that's incredible. But there's also, I want her to beat everybody except for me. Like I am not losing to you under any circumstance, whether it's racing to the car, whether it's eating donuts. It doesn't matter what it is. Little weird nuanced games that we have amongst each other. That competitive nature is a huge drive, especially if I hear the MC say, Miki Sudo is at 31 donuts, and I know I'm at like 28. Like, well, it's time to downshift. Time to hit the night. I am not going home for 5 hours on that plane hearing about how I got second place.
I think you'll see that. And it's going to show in our hot dog numbers, too, because obviously I get the behind-the-scenes look at Nick's practices. And I know every year we say, oh, this is the year, but, like, Nick's practices have been consistently... I can't let him overtake me in hot dogs in this household, and that's very much a reality. Step up my game. So, yeah.
So
definitely push each other better.
So the physical side of this, I know way back when I first started watching, the eating contest, I think people naturally think it's large people that would be able to eat quickly. But I mean, oh, Nick, hell, you're a bodybuilder, but you see the better eaters are either small and wayfish or have good builds on them. Why from the physical side, why is it easier for more normal sized people to eat than bigger people?
I think part of it is bigger people have a tendency to graze sometimes, more grazers and enjoying the food. But I think when we're in better shape, I know her and I both realize we feel better even when we're doing it. Whether it's an endurance thing or whether it's just it takes me longer to flavor fatigue from the food when I'm in better shape because I'm slightly more ravenous, I guess. So, and then I think a lot of times people who maybe are, ex-athletes or in better shape, there's some of that competitive drive in them where it's just, this is going to, make no mistake about it. That 45th or 60th donut or hot dog doesn't taste quite as good as the first one. You better have some competitive drive that says, like, I want that check, I want to win, and there's no way I want to lose. And I think that's maybe a common denominator among some of the ex-athletes that we have.
I could definitely see that show up because you're right. It's a full-on training regimen, getting to call the hot dog contest and see what everyone puts into their process. It's high-level athleticism in the approach to all of this, but it also does, to your point about taste, make you connoisseurs. One of my favorite interactions on social media, anytime a food subject comes up, is seeing Nick waltz into the comments here because you're a man of great taste. And so since it is National Donut Day, our family loves the hell out of some donuts, but have not consumed at the level and variety that you have here. What is, in your opinion, the best donut when it comes to flavor, type between cake and yeast, all that accounted? Do you have a favorite?
I feel like I could create Nick's ideal donut.
You can go first and answer because I'm
Nick's
formulating.
Ideal donut would be some really mature palate mashup of cookie dough, birthday cake, and donut. That's basically what his ideal donut would be. So if that exists, it's that.
Yeah, because that's what a sophisticated palate would want. If there was a cat of donuts, that's what they would serve at it. Okay, so my favorite donut ever is probably Donut Crazy. Actually, West Hartford has a cookie dough stuffed donut. It is one of the most unreal things you could have in your life. It'll change your life. Like you guys know, both of you probably know, that donut will change your life. That one, or they have one that's got a sugar cookie dough with a circus animal, a frosted circus animal right next to it. Those two donuts, like, oh my goodness. Like, they had a contest with those. I would gladly take 10th and just sit there and eat slowly and enjoy them.
We ate at Donut Crazy all the time. My wife loves the Nutella one. I like the one that looks like a Hostess cupcake, but there's so many of them that are so good. All right, so let me ask you this. In all the different foods that are out there, I mean, you see so many different, competition for different foods. Miki, let's start with you. What's one where a contest is coming up and you're like, oh yeah, I love this food, or a contest is coming up and you're like, I don't want to sit there and say you hate the food, but you're less enthusiastic about that food?
Less enthusiastic. I don't know if we're going to have it back on the circuit, but Spam was definitely a challenge for me. I didn't love Spam going into it, and I didn't like it anymore after 8 minutes of Spam out the can. Just block. And foods that I like, I really hope to see Minnesota ribs come back. I like baby back ribs and chicken wings, so I'll take those contests like all day, every day. It might not necessarily place great if I compete that much, but yeah, I could do those all the time.
Yeah, I would say ribs and wings are probably my favorites as well. Plus, they're contests where even going into the announcement, we as the eaters, because they're done by weight displacement, don't necessarily know who's in which placement. Oh. So that's really cool to get like live feed, especially if you're in the last two and you're just sitting there. Like that's really exciting. Those, as far as one, I wasn't quite as thrilled about. I would probably jump on the spam train on that one. With that said, I did multiple practices leading up to that contest because I really wanted to win. I shattered the world record and still got second with 9 pounds in 8 minutes. So that was a bittersweet contest. Bittersweet contest.
Oh my God, bittersweet and about every other flavor imaginable with that much spam in the gullet. Dear God. You mentioned the amount of training that went into that particular contest. You guys have talked about donuts, but you mentioned the elephant in the room is Nathan's. It's the biggest contest everyone pays attention to every year. I know in football, when you're playing a triple option team, you spend a lot of the year, the rest of the season, practicing for that team because it's so different. It's something abnormal. For this one, because Nathan's is such a big deal, do you spend more of your calendar year focusing on dogs and buns? How does that go?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not known for doing a lot of practices, but I will definitely do at least 2 practices leading up to Nathan's just for the coordination's sake. Yeah. I've done 2 this year. I started earlier and I've done more because Nick's very much a perfection by practice kind of guy.
Yeah, Miki's kind of the Bo Jackson of what we do. Like, I don't actually go in the gym. I just show up, that type of thing. And just like wakes up with excellence. But that said, when she practices at something, if she's in a good mood, like just get out of the way because she's just a dominant force. And part of that is like knowing how to pace herself, and that's what makes her great at what we do. But with myself, undoubtedly, dogs and buns, the way they're done in contest. Also because I'm chasing a ghost, so to speak. I'm trying to. Is the unstoppable force. Everyone says, well, he can't be beaten. He can't be beat. Well, that's true of everybody until they are. Like, Mike, when I talked to you a few years ago, it was just, I think you even said, you're like, this is a confident guy going into this. Like, very few people, when you talk to them, will say, like, oh, Joey can be beat. He's a man. Like, and eventually that belt will be mine. And the pink belt and the yellow belt, same house.
So, I mean, that's a day we would all look forward to, the couple that have that in their house. Miki, for you, is there kind of like where Joey Chestnut is now, where he kind of walks into that contest and everybody knows he's a favorite? How is it for you? I mean, the only thing that stopped you in your streak was pregnancy when you had to go and become a commentator before you started winning again. So is there an intimidation factor of so many wins for you that the other women just kind of feel defeated when they're around you?
I don't get the impression that they're defeated, but I also don't see that crazy, intense desire to overtake me. Seems kind of happy to be there, which is great. I was never that person. When Sonia Thomas was the winner, I think I could do that, and I went in my very first contest saying, no, it's first or nothing at that point. I honestly don't see that. Again, being happy to be there is a great attitude. But yeah, it'd be interesting if somebody jumped on the women's side with the same kind of crazy intensity that Nick has on the guys' side. I don't.
Not advisable.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be good for her or me or anyone. But it would definitely be interesting as a fan too. Yeah, and as far as pressure goes, I still want to hit 50. I really feel like it should have happened in 2022. I don't know if last year. Yeah, because 2020, I did the 48 and a half, and I'm like, oh, if I had known that we were, down to the wire, I would have stuffed more. And then, like you mentioned, I was out for pregnancy. 50's right around the corner, and I need a little bit of help from the weather conditions, but I don't know. That's what I'm chasing.
She's saying smash the over. That's what she's saying is smash the over.
There we go. There we go. Get ready for it. Early betting odds for the Nathan's Hot Dog Contest.
Yeah. I love that. Hey, can you chipmunk any food when you get into the end? Any eating contest can it be chipmunked?
Oh, yeah. See, for the most part, yeah, you have to be a little bit more careful with some because, like, I think the basic rule of thumb is you got to be able to take your hand away. It's got to be yours. It's got to belong to you. Away from you, it doesn't belong to you.
It really irks me when people are actively still eating. Oh, well, it's in my mouth, but you're using your hands. That's no different.
When they turn to the side and the hand is here.
Yeah, I shouldn't let it bother me this much, but I mean, you'll see those people who can immediately, Joey's really good at this, who can immediately start talking after, after time's called. I'm one of them. Some people, I swear to you, are still chewing like when we're announcing podium.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't affect me, I guess I won't let it affect my day either. But it's just, but I see you.
She's taking notes.
If you're still just finishing up what's in your mouth, I'm done. I'm having a conversation with Nick, and I could still eat a donut, put it down, and you're still chewing. Then how does mine not count?
It's just that getting away with, or like sometimes you see when the lineman may like nudge the ball a little bit forward, like, oh, oops, it moved 2-3 feet that direction. Nobody saw it.
The gamesmanship of competitive eating. Just everyone made abundantly clear. Mickey sees what you're doing and doesn't like it, so lock in. Oh my God, guys. It's unbelievable. I could sit here and talk to you guys all day. We are so pumped to see how this goes for you guys tomorrow. Again, everyone check it out. If you're in San Diego, 9:30 a.m. local Pacific, down on the USS Midway, 910 North Harbor Drive in San Diego. Going to be going down for a great cause, and you will see two of the best in the business going at it. Guys, best of luck. Great to talk to you, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon as we're about a month out from the Dogs and Buns.
It's right around the corner.
Definitely. Thank you so much
Thanks for having us. Always a pleasure.
If that doesn't get you fired up to eat some donuts today, I don't know what will.
They're great. And, you've had a chance, obviously, to talk to more of the eaters by covering a couple of the Nathans. We've had them on the show a few times when I was at ESPN. A lot of them have such great personalities. Nick is amazing. Dude was a bodybuilder. Actually entered his first contest without even practicing, was still kind of bodybuilding and went into a cheeseburger eating contest and did well without any kind of training at all for it. So they're fun. Again, great competition, donut eating. It's going to hopefully raise a lot of money as well for Salvation Army to help veterans in the area there in Los Angeles. So I like that part of it as well. But man, it's so much fun. And all the different foods. Could you imagine? He ate 8-9 pounds of Spam. I mean, some of these, how about the mayonnaise eating when they eat pounds of mayonnaise? Some of it is just wow, I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, I for as much as I have been oft associated with mayonnaise after the Duke's Mayo Bowl, for obvious reasons, I earned that. I'm never going to be able to wipe that off. But eating it for bulk is one of the most disgusting things that I could ever think about. I think they actually did that in the game this year. Jay Arnold, the former Texas A&M defensive lineman, they had him in the crowd as the 1 millionth fan at the Duke Mayo Bowl, and he just had a spoon in a big jar of mayonnaise, and he was eating it out of it the entire time. And that was a moment that was actually healthy for me because I realized that I truly do have limits, and I had found one of them there, which is healthy. So, Dad, what would be your food of choice if you were going to find one to bulk eat?
You know what? I do like and both of them were in a contest just about a week ago in Indiana. It was actually Jack's Donuts. It was donut holes, to which I think Mickey ate. She didn't win it, but she ate. I think she was third with a little over 300, and Nick had 280 something. I think I would like that. Kind of easy to eat. These are full donuts they're eating today. But I think I would go with donut holes or chicken wings. I do like the wing factor as well, though you are dealing with the bone, so you got to make sure you get enough of the meat off it for it to count. But giving me one selection, probably donut holes. How about you?
I love a contest where you could do fries or ice cream. I could eat those on a loop in perpetuity
there you go.
Until the sun explodes or AI kills us all. Speaking, guys, of what people are eating, this is a great opportunity to tell you about the deal our friends over at Omaha Steaks have going on right now as we are heading into Father's Day. You can give Dad the gift that keeps on giving, and that is delicious Omaha Steaks here. What do you get the guy that's got everything? The easy advice for men is always to make it edible, clearly, as this segment has indicated here. So go on over to omahasteaks.com and use promo code GoJo at checkout, and we will get you $30 off of your qualifying order. You can get packages of bacon-wrapped filet mignons, gourmet grillables like air-chilled boneless chicken breasts, burgers, jumbo franks, the whole lot. They've got desserts, too, 4 delicious caramel apple tartlets, All of it. Exactly what your dad's going to want to open up this Father's Day, because we know, above all else, dads want steaks. So whether he's your father, your father-in-law, or father figure, he's the guy who's always going to be ready to step up when you needed him the most. This Father's Day, show him the love with the only gift that's as unforgettable as he is, the mouth-watering perfection of Omaha Steaks. From perfectly aged, tender steaks to hand-selected gift packages, Omaha Steaks makes it easy to give dad what he really wants. Order today, get $30 off with promo code GoJo, and every purchase is backed by their unconditional money-back guarantee. Minimum order may be required. See site for details. All right, thank you to Nick and Miki. As always, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, and review. Check out that whole interview. Support them. We're going to get to this, that, and the third here in a second. We also have to give our same game parlay for game 2. So we've obviously got a couple days, but we won't be on this weekend. Our first same game parlay was undermined by Dad's poor choice. And so, Dad, We're going to give you a chance to redeem yourself here. So just make sure I've got this right. We cooked this up during the breaks. Each of us is picking a leg of a same game parlay for game 2. We're going to get DraftKings to throw it up on the sportsbook that you can check out there. For this one, we have got, Dad, your pick was Bam Adebayo for over 9.5 rebounds in this game. I went for Nikola Jokic combined points and assists over 35. And Brandon went for Jimmy Butler under 25.5 points in this game. So everybody good? Everyone stamping that one right now so we can send it off and get this thing notarized.
I would like for you guys to have the ability to veto it, or at least make it so that it's the over and not the under. Like, is betting against Jimmy Butler going over 25.5 bad business for game 2?
Listen, Brandon, that's your choice. You have to own your leg of this.
Brandon, you picked Aaron Gordon at over 12.5 last night. He had that in the first half. I was most concerned about that one. And you had yours in the first half. Mike, you picked Joker to have, over 9.5 or 10 assists? He had that in the first half. Mine was Caleb Martin hitting 3 threes. He stunk. Him and Robinson were horrible shooting, and I cost us the parlay. So it was mine that let us down, so I hope to pick up my slack. But no, you own this one, Brandon. That's your pick. You go with it.
All right.
So that's our parlay for game 2. Everyone, make sure you check that out. Hopefully we'll win you some money this time around. Guys, let's get to this, that, and the third. 3 quick stories to finish off and take in to your weekend in this case. And Dan, let's start with some of the big news in college football yesterday. The SEC went and ticked everybody off by announcing after the vote that they would not be moving to 9 conference games the way every other Power 5 conference has structured their schedule in 2024. Instead, the SEC, with 16 teams when Texas and Oklahoma arrive, are going to continue to play 8 conference games in 2024 without divisions. So it'll go to 1 permanent opponent and then 7 rotating opponents throughout the schedule, instead of what could have been 3 permanent rivals and 6 rotating opponents here. Dan, I see a lot of people ticked off about the number of Power 5 opponents that the SEC plays in a given year, all these competitive reasons. Here's what I know. The SEC at the end of last year, if we want to pick metrics to support everyone's argument that can be flawed, in the strength of schedule final rankings last year, the SEC had 13 teams inside the top 16 in strength of schedule. They've perennially put at least 1, if not 2 teams into the college football playoff and a bunch of other teams into bowl games right now. They are not financially incentivized or competitively incentivized right now to do anything other than what they've done. So I'm surprised that people expected them to do anything different than what they did.
So I would just, if I'm the SEC, do exactly what they did. And if somebody asked, why aren't you going to a 9-game conference schedule? My response would be, why? Tell me why I should. And let somebody give me a reason of why we should change something that's worked so well for our conference. There's no need for them to change that. So why would they change it? Who cares if everybody's mad? How many people yell at Notre Dame because they're not in a conference? I don't care. Yell all you want, because if your school had a chance to be independent and grab all the money and be on TV every week and do the things Notre Dame does, you would do it. And don't tell me you wouldn't, because I know you would. So why change something that's working for you? If the system starts to change around you and you have to, change with that, so be it. Right now, they don't have to, so why do it?
Yeah, exactly. It would definitely be better for the fans who would get to see more teams play in the SEC without massive gulfs in between that time. It would preserve rivalries. All these things. We're not a factor in the decision-making. None of these people in power making these decisions actually care about us. The sooner we remember all of that, the better. Let's get to that. Speaking of people surprised by questions here, we got sound of Nick Nurse in his opening press conference as new coaches are taking jobs around the NBA. Nick Nurse, the former Raptors coach, now the coach of the 76ers. And look at how he responded when he got blitzed by a question of if he wanted James Harden back next season.
2 months in.
Do you want James Harden back?
Pardon me?
Do you want James Harden back?
James Harden's a great player.
That didn't answer the question.
Well, I would say this is that James has a decision to make, and I'd be very happy if he came back. Yeah.
So Nick obviously fumbled the bag here. My thing is, I want to know who that reporter was because that was excellent surprise blitz journalism right there. That was a fire zone pressure that the quarterback did not see coming, and it got the exact result that people wanted, which appeared to be a weird little bit of truth serum from Nick here in a way that he did not need to divulge.
Yeah, I don't, Nick, it did seem like Nick unbelievably got caught off guard with that one a little bit. I'm surprised. You know, other things he said, winning has to be the sell. He said, can we be good enough to win it all? That's got to be the goal. That's got to be a goal of his, meaning Harden. And if it is, then he should stay here and play for us because I think that's a possibility of that. So, I mean, okay, if you're asking if Harden wants to win a ring, then okay, then he should stay and play for us. Boy, that doesn't sound too resounding.
Dad, do you want James Harden back in 2023? Yes or no?
At the amount that he wants to be paid, no.
Oh, well, Dad, you're supposed to be Nick Nurse, and the answer is yes. If you're Nick Nurse, the answer is yes, we want him back in 2023, and then you move on here. That should have been easy for him.
Listen, as soon as I get paid like Nick Nurse, or Monty Williams for that fact, then I'll answer the way I'm supposed to answer at a press conference.
You know what? Fair point. Fair point. Go Irish on that one. So congratulations to Nick Nurse for now making a bunch of problems on yourself at your introductory press conference. This should be an exciting offseason where James Harden may actually decide to say, no, I don't really care all that much about winning. I'm going to go hang out in Houston where I like it a lot more anyway. Dad, let's get to the third. This one you brought up to me. So tell me about a life-saving Sherpa at the summit of Mount Everest.
This is amazing. By the way, this year already in Mount Everest, there was a record 478 permits for people to climb Everest. It's a March to May climbing season. And at least 12 climbers have died already, the highest number for 8 years, and another 5 are still missing. I can't imagine that's a good thing if you're missing on the Mount Everest slopes. Well, one person that's not is a climber, a Chinese client who the Sherpa saw as before they could get to the summit, noticed he was having problems hanging onto the rope and was very, very cold. So we talked the guy into saying, hey, you're not going to make the summit, and we got to go down. This Sherpa ended up strapping this guy on his back and taking him down 1,900 feet from the balcony area, they call it, over a period of about 6 hours before they were able to helicopter him out there. This Sherpa put a man on his back for 6 hours to go down Everest to save his life. Unfortunately, as we mentioned, the guy didn't reach the summit, but he got his life saved by a Sherpa who strapped him to his back and took him down Everest. That's unbelievable.
Yo, that's a real-life Greg Jennings. Put the team on my back, though, on Everest. On freaking Everest. It's a reminder, and I remember I learned this going and doing the Kilimanjaro climb with Chris Long's charity, the Water Boys. We had a ton of porters with us who are lugging our massive 50 to 75 pound bags up the same trail we're laboring on with backpacks. Sherpas and porters are God's gift. They are incredible people and also trained at altitude in a way that makes them strong like ants became humans. They are some of the most freakishly impressive people on earth, and thankful for all of them, as I'm sure this Chinese client is as well, because it's the reason that he is actually still alive right now. We hope you enjoyed this trip up what was likely not the Everest of your podcast day, but maybe something close. If you did, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, review, leave us a 5-star rating. Check us out on the DraftKings YouTube channel, as well as DraftKingsNetwork.com or Samsung TV Plus. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you guys on Monday. Boom. Money in the bank.